Hey everyone, welcome back to the Data Pour. I'm Steve McLaughlin, head of data at Epon Technologies. I'm here today at the Verdant Lady, and my guest is Lori Jennings of Jennings ProSearch. Lori, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Thank you for joining me, shall we? Lori, I'm glad you could join me. This is your first time here, right?
It's my first time and I'm excited to be here.
Beautiful spot, isn't it?
Yes, I've heard a lot about it.
It's tucked away. It's very intimate, very dark and green. I love it. I really love the vibe here. In fact, my wife and I stole the design for our own bar at home as we were building something out, so we loved it that much.
Oh, nice.
So,
I might steal some of these drink ideas.
I know.
They look pretty good.
They've got some good ones. We'll get into that in just a second, but before we do, Lori, tell me about how you got your start. How'd you get into tech? How'd you get into recruiting? I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey.
Well, it's a little bit long-winded because I didn't start in tech right out of college. I went into the textile industry in a manufacturing plant in Abbeville, South Carolina.
Wow.
And worked my way into sales and sold commercial carpet tiles, which was then made for computer-grade flooring back in the 90s.
That's interesting. I never knew that.
So I started calling on American Online when they were getting going. When you remember, that was exciting. My first email, you've got mail.
That's right. Same.
And every time I go to up to their office in Reston, they'd be having celebrations and parties, and everybody's having a great time, and they're celebrating how many people they're on their platform. I'm selling lots and lots of carpet, flying all over to all these locations to sell carpet. And I'm like, what is going on in tech? I need to better understand this. I'm somebody, I'm almost a boomer. I'm an old Gen X, and we didn't grow up with computers.
Sure.
So this was new to me, and I just loved when I got my email for the first time.
Sure.
Did this. So I decided I only knew one person in technology. He happened to go to the gym with me. I asked him, hey, what's this tech stuff? I want to get in. He met with me, introduced me to a recruiter.
Okay.
And then I was being introduced to EMC. I started working there. I got a job. I forced my way in. I had to move back into inside sales, started selling for them, then went to Cisco Systems. This was in the late 90s.
That's so
This
cool.
is before Y2K and everybody was hiring. We were at that, then we had the burst.
Right.
So when that happened, I found myself unemployed for a little time. I ended up finding a local consulting firm who I'd sold a router to called CRT, Computer Resource Team. I think you're familiar. You said I had no idea that you worked for them for a short time in Lynchburg.
That's how I got my start.
Yes.
Too, in Lynchburg, Virginia.
There you go. They were headquartered in Blacksburg. I went to Virginia Tech. So I started selling database consulting, data warehousing, early times, of this whole, data visualization. I was selling services. We were a consulting firm.
Very cool.
Then people started to hit the bench. The economy shifted. So we turned into a staffing firm, started staffing out our consultants on an hourly basis. That's how you got in, right?
99.
Right. All the data folks. And then they started asking, do you have this type of person? Do you have this type of person? I'm on Monster. We're figuring it out. We became a staffing firm of all the tech. And so I did that for a while. And then as I went, I'm calling on hiring managers, which happen to be at the C level usually, or at least VP level.
Sure.
They started saying, hey, do you know about any jobs? I'm looking for a new job. I started connecting them to my other clients. They started getting jobs. I'm like, I really like doing this.
Gotcha.
So I wanted to be, an executive recruiter. I went back to school, got my MBA, wrote a business plan. I started a company in 2008 in another recession.
Okay, right.
Perfect timing, right? And here I am. I was part of CRT at that time. It was a separate LLC called CRT ProSearch. I rebranded in 2015 when I brought out the company, and now it's Jennings ProSearch. So I've been recruiting for quite a while now.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
What's different about executive recruiting versus where you started with maybe more like engineering level resources?
And I still do some engineering.
Okay.
So I do executive, but I also do a lot of higher level. So a lot of architect levels, team leads, managers, and I'm working in the mid-market space. So a lot of those people are still very close to the tech. I'm not recruiting an executive at a Capital One or a large Fortune company where they're very far removed from the tech and have thousands of people working for them.
Right.
So I would say an executive recruiter is someone usually when you're on a one-on-one basis, you have a partnership there. I tend to do exclusive searches for the most part. And I like to be talking to the person that's hiring. I'm not going to go through, like a lot of staffing firms, which is where I started, you get on a vendor list.
Right.
they get an opportunity, they send it out to all their vendors, a mass group, maybe, I don't know, anywhere from 8 to 12 vendors, and then you just start putting people in a system. You're never really talking to the hiring manager most often.
Sure.
And it's more tactical. It's not a long-term fit necessarily.
Right.
They're hiring for skill sets versus long-term cultural fit, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So over the years, I've kind of moved up. My peers, they're more, I moved up in the industry. I started off doing a lot of engineering and stuff, and now I'm moving up to executive levels because those are my peers, being older.
And I think, if I may,
Yeah.
just observationally, you're very good at making those relationships. So I could see where the sort of transactional nature of just like their resource management versus an actual hiring manager, you would, I imagine, absolutely veer towards like having these lasting relationships.
Yes.
Come to be this trusted advisor for people. And I gotta ask, because I think you're like maybe the queen of networking. When did you realize networking was something you enjoyed, something that you were good at? Like,
Well, kind of
when did that
always.
start?
I mean, I'm an extrovert.
Okay.
So I think even in high school, I was always a matchmaker, matchmaking
Sure.
people. I just feel like I'm a connector. That just
Yes.
comes. So recruiting, I stumbled into it. I had no idea I was selling technology services and products. I just loved it. It fit my personality. And I think that's just something I've always done. I've always said, hey, you like doing this? Let me introduce you to somebody else who likes doing this. Kind of the same thing. And, it's just evolved. And anything that I do, I just enjoy connecting people.
Yeah.
And I get to do it for a living.
It's
really,
like your superpower.
yeah, I'm not a technical person. I could never get behind a screen and do what you do. But yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great story. I had no idea you started selling carpet for AOL. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And now you are at the forefront of so many things. And so I got to ask, over that time, how have you seen recruiting, hiring, the tech market for new professionals, for executives? How's it shifted over the years? I mean, I know there's just been nothing but
Oh
twists and
gosh,
turns.
it's hard to remember, right? It just feels like in the beginning things changed a lot slower.
Right.
So you'd be working the same type of positions. They wouldn't change from year to year. And, I'm always looking up, what is this? Now things change like this, I mean, in the last couple of years, it's going to get, with machines doing it, with AI, it's just accelerating that. So that's one thing. Over the last few years since COVID, I think everything's before COVID, after COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of the changes I can tell you about, and this happens, there's cycles. Like I said, I've been through a couple recessions, whether we're calling this a recession, a slowdown, or whatever it is. I've been through several. We went through a couple of years ago. We went through this great resignation where you couldn't find candidates.
I remember.
Oh my God, people were moving around. People were getting crazy sign-on bonuses. They were having 3 or 4 offers. Our biggest challenge was to get somebody to respond to us and talk to us. Now it's kind of changed. It's shifted to the employment market again, where there are not as many jobs. We had a lot of tech layoffs, a lot of reasons for that. They overhired, slowdown in the economy, or people putting the brakes on to see what's shifting with all, with the interest rates going up, the cost of capital being higher, global issues. We got an election year, you name it. There's a lot of things that are going on.
So many external pressures.
So many external
and they're
pressures.
just out of your control.
Right.
All you can do is kind of try to see it coming and plan for it.
Right. So there's a lot of people looking. Right now, a lot more people looking than there are jobs. So now my job is very much trying to work with companies to find requirements versus the candidates. The candidates, there's tons of candidates. Now, they're not always the right fit. So I'll tell you something that's going on to this trend now, because there are companies still hiring, but instead of hiring 3 people like they used to, they're trying to make 1 job out of 3. So the requirements are getting ridiculous, like these unicorns, true unicorns. Right. So it's taking a lot longer to find these people. It's creating a lot of frustration. You get through the process, no one's quite a fit.
Sure.
So that's another trend that I'm seeing, and I'm hoping that's going to change when we, the market starts to open, hopefully by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Right? So that's something. And then let me see. I got to tell you this. With AI and automation, which we've gone through in the last several years,
Sure.
there's all these easy apply buttons.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of frustration from candidates. You hear them complaining that recruiters ghost them, they don't get back to them, they don't hear from anybody. It's like, they just submit applications and it's a black hole or whatever.
Right.
All right, well, there's a lot of reasons for that. First of all, a lot less recruiters. Recruiters have been laid off.
Yes.
There's a fraction of the recruiters that once were.
Sure.
We're getting inundated with candidates. They've got auto apply buttons now, easy apply buttons on LinkedIn. I primarily use that. So that makes it really easy for everybody to just apply to everything, whether they're a fit or not.
Just gotta see, why not?
Let's just see.
Sure. Yeah.
You see them saying, I applied to 500 to 1,000 jobs and I haven't found one yet. Thinking, whoa, the spray and pray mentality, they think you have to, the numbers game.
Right.
I would say it's the opposite. You should be focusing on quality right now because hiring managers, you have to have 95 to 100% of the requirements on there.
Right.
To get considered. And sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes there's somebody that's meeting all the preferred, they have the exact industry, and people that are great candidates that people would have died for 2 years ago are now finding it hard to find a job. So there's all this frustration. It's creating a lot of noise for us to focus when we're recruiting. And I feel for the candidates. I've been there. Like I said, I went through it back. I was unemployed in the dot-com bust back after 2000. So it's really, really frustrating, the landscape. And it's going to continue. We have these cycles.
Right. It's gonna ebb and
And I'm curious. I know AI is going to continue to make it even
yeah.
more challenging.
Well, you're getting to my next question, but before that, why don't we try these drinks? Because
Let's
mine
do it.
smells amazing. So Verdant Lady started in March of 22 and has a menu that I think is to die for. All of these look fantastic. I am drinking the Butter and Bruised, which is a butter washed rye. It's got honeysuckle, cinnamon, black walnut, and orange bitters, and smells amazing. And you were drinking
The Verdant Lady.
the namesake.
I'm not sure what's in it, but it looks delicious. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
This has got mint. It's amazing.
Is it good?
Oh my gosh.
This is fantastic. Yeah.
I want to try that one because I'm a bourbon,
Try some
I have
of
to
it.
try this one, yeah.
Please, by all means. It is wonderful. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm a bourbon
Yeah.
fanatic, so
you
I
have
really wanted that one too, but there were too many to choose from.
You have a huge bourbon collection, you were saying.
Well, I have, not compared to a lot of people, I have about 100 bottles I've been collecting over the last couple years.
Me, but I do have some friends
Yes.
with like a basement full.
And I just won the lottery. We each won the Virginia ABC lottery, which
That's right.
I didn't know anybody before the two of us
Yeah.
that have won. I won a bottle of Pappy.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
I had to pay for it, but I won the rights
You
to
won
buy
the
it.
Right to buy it, which is funny. As I explained to people, like, oh, you won a lottery, so you got a bottle. Like, well, I won the right to buy a bottle.
Exactly.
It is kind of fun. I actually have a friend who works for ABC, and he's like, I hate it. I hate how people go crazy for it. It's just
They do.
You have to do it.
Yes, and now I'm standing in line in the middle of the night, camping out, waiting in line to get,
Yep.
special bourbons when they have a drop.
I'm not yet that hardcore, but I have friends who they do. It is their kind of number one thing. They're always looking for, what do they call the bourbon drops?
Yeah, the bourbon drops.
Yeah. Whew. Yeah. I have a couple nice bottles, so as a result of.
I think if you did it, it's kind of like a tailgate. You start to get to know people. It's fun.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
It is kind of a cult. I like it.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, that makes sense. You would love hanging out with people, getting to know people,
Exactly.
building some relationships, and of course you would. I love that. That's cool. Do you have a favorite bourbon? Like, what's your go-to?
My go-to, well, for old fashions, which I love,
Yeah, same here.
I tend to drink, well, I like blends. I mean, just because it's a low alcohol content, I'm a lightweight, so I don't want to drink 120 something proof. I have a lot of barrel proofs.
Sure, yeah.
But gosh, they'll knock me out. So,
Blends is my favorite.
straight out of the barrel and all those, yeah.
To price and taste, blends is just where it's at.
But there's this bottle of Joseph Magnus cigar blend, which my friend turned me on to,
Okay, I bet you tried that.
and it describes it as something you want to, drink when you're smoking a cigar. And I don't smoke cigars. I've never smoked anything. But I whipped this thing open one night, let everybody try it, and now everybody's in love with it, including myself.
Okay, I'm gonna
It is amazing. It's relatively easy, at a drop to get. But I'm kind of into that one right now. You just drink it straight, and I don't put it in an old fashioned.
Yeah, okay, I'll have to try that. That sounds good. Getting into AI,
Yeah.
I know it's maybe the last 18 months. It's probably been all you hear about.
Oh, we talk about.
What has it changed in the recruiting space, both from candidates and also maybe from companies, and maybe even how they're leveraging it?
Well, you can speak to maybe how companies are leveraging it better than I can, since you're a data practitioner.
That's fair.
Okay, and I'm going to turn that on you. Yes. So for how it's changing the recruiting landscape, well, first of all, we're getting a lot of AI generated
Oh yeah,
resumes that are flawless.
right. Oh, that's funny.
Right. And then when
Sure.
you get the people on the phone, you realize they can't back up a lot of
Right,
it.
right.
They don't have the English communication that the resume would suggest. So we're seeing that from a lot of that, and then even from answering questions. I only do video calls now. If you're not willing to turn on your camera and let me see you, I'm not doing an interview with
That
you.
makes sense.
All right, because I want to be able to see what you're doing. But I've heard, I haven't seen this yet, but people are putting plugs in their ears, or some type of microphone, and people are feeding them the answers,
I
similar to
had
what
that
we
happen to
did
me.
before videos.
I
Yes.
had that happen about 18 months ago. I was on a call and I could tell. And actually, what was happening was the audio from someone else was being piped in, and this person was trying to mouth. And it looked like it was a delay, but
Yes.
I was able to tell, like, this is separate audio.
Right.
I'm actually really good at reading lips because I've played guitars for years, and I could tell they just weren't synced. And so this person would be talking and moving their arms, and I'm like, that's not the person talking. So
Right.
there's some clever work.
And I'm hearing this
here.
from people
Yeah.
like yourself, these
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
I haven't experienced that, or maybe I haven't recognized it. I'm not sure. But I have seen a lot of the resumes, and the same thing on the LinkedIn profiles.
Sure.
The other thing I'm seeing is, I'm able to write job descriptions. So it helps us write really good job descriptions.
Yeah.
I still have templates, but I'll feed it in to ChatGPT or whatever and start. It gives me a starting point when I'm helping,
Great
because that's
starting
part of my
place.
service as an executive recruiter. I didn't really get to finish all that, but I do help with services, advisory. A lot of that is helping companies write job descriptions, because a lot of times I'm recruiting for companies that don't have a big IT department, and sometimes they're looking for their leader. They don't have anybody to write that, so I help
That
them.
makes sense. Yeah.
So it's helping me update. Of course, you have to. You know this. You have to go through. You review it. You cut and paste, and you change wording and things like that, because you don't want it to look like all the same job descriptions. You
Right.
customize them. So I'm using it that way, and it's really, really helpful. To get back into some of this AI stuff, because we talked about the resumes and the way people are feeding in, and all of that. It's funny because I had a story. You asked me. There was I think when we were warming up, you asked me about an interesting recruiting story, and this happened in the last few months. I was recruiting for this very specialized skill set. I had this person on, beautiful resume. We get him on. It was immediate. Immediately I noticed this was, profile had been AI generated. So I got off the phone. I somehow gently let him know he was not. I had better candidates that aligned better, that I wasn't going to be submitting him. We ended the call. A week or so later, I got another application that looked amazing. Different name, little different, looked great. I get him on the phone. I realized all he'd done is change his name. He changed his look a little bit by putting on glasses, a different outfit,
fake
changed his
mustache.
hair a little bit, yeah, and a different background setting. And he gets on the phone. I noticed they're both from Texas. So I started to, like, oh. And then started interviewing me, and I'm like, I just talked to you last week. You've got on glasses, and I start to call him out on it, and he immediately hung up on me. So,
Wow.
so he just moved things around. And you're seeing a lot of these fake profiles on LinkedIn, these bots, or like this, multiple profiles of the same person.
Yeah.
They're generating the content, and it's kind of, we did this back, I remember in 2007 and 8, if you remember that, where you were in the industry, but new in the industry, we had a lot of this in staffing, because we had a shortage of people, but we didn't have the video then. But you would have people interview, one person interviewing, and then somebody else would show up. And I'd get calls all the time, come up here and get this person. This isn't the person I interviewed. They couldn't do anything. So it's kind of the same kind of thing, but they're having to do, they're more clever because we have video.
What's the end goal? You get hired and then probably immediately found out.
I don't know. I don't think, maybe
what's the
I don't
plan?
know. I don't understand it. It doesn't.
do? You
It's
get
not a good
hired.
long-term strategy.
Yeah, right. That's my thinking. I mean, what do you skate by for 2 weeks before someone's like, this person doesn't know what they're doing?
Yeah.
Which I have seen that happen before too. Man, that's wild.
Yeah, so why don't we turn that back on you?
Oh,
Look,
okay.
tell me, what are you
love
seeing from your perspective in AI? You had another part of that question, which I kind of forget now, that I'm like, well, I'd be better to ask you how companies are using
Sure.
or what.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask how companies are using it to scan and candidates.
Oh,
right? Like,
okay.
because you mentioned these resumes go into a black hole. I know
Yes.
there's probably all these systems now that just,
Yes.
this is a good fit, this isn't, and they just, no human ever has to even look at a resume. which is kind of a bummer, but
Yeah, and there's a lot of bias and there's a lot of issues with that,
yes,
right?
right.
I'm hearing that happens. Everybody says the Workday, the ATS system just does that, but I'm seeing internal recruiters. I don't do it. I'm not a high volume
Right.
recruiter. I'm going to look at every resume myself.
Right.
But when you're doing it scale at a Capital One or say a huge company with a lot of positions, yes, you probably have to do that.
Probably get 5,000 applications
Right.
a day. What else can you do?
You have to do
It's
some
an
things.
imperfect system. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and they had weed out questions, but the AI systems are learning how to get you through those.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know how they're using it exactly. I hear all these people saying it is weeding out, but then I hear internal recruiters at large companies, including Google and stuff, saying we do not use that to weed people out. We are looking at all the resumes. You know, so I'm not really sure, but I do think that is happening to some extent. It's going to get better, and they're going to keep doing that. But there's still a lot of bias in that,
Right.
and some challenges with that.
Yeah, yeah. It's an interesting landscape, but I'm sure companies now are looking for people who have the depth of experience in AI, even though there's really probably not a lot of people out there that actually do yet, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, yeah.
What are the skill sets? Because I think we can talk about the skill sets in there, but I'm curious to you, as a
Right.
I want to learn.
Sure.
What are you seeing
Yeah.
in the skill sets that are being demanded now? Because there's not a lot of true AI experts yet. I mean, there are people doing machine learning, I hear, that are moving in that direction, but we don't have a ton unless you're these PhD candidates. They're not necessarily
Right.
running around Richmond.
Yeah, I think there's growing opportunity to have a background in AI. There are tools now that are available that people can have experience with, but by and large, it is machine learning that's the more practical application up until, call it 18, 24 months ago. Besides that, AI, machine learning, those were kind of interchangeable terms that meant something a lot different than what it means even now, just 2 years later. So, yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm still looking at the foundational stuff. I'm a data guy. So I still am like, this is all cool, but your data has to be right. For any of this to be trustworthy, valuable. So as I'm looking at folks, I'm still looking for that foundational data background. Because I think a lot of this AI tools now that are available can be learned. A great example is Data Robot. You can click 2 buttons and build an application that looks at mortgage applications and says who should be approved and who shouldn't be. And, we can get into how good those models are, but 15 years ago, that would have taken months. And now it's 2 clicks. So there's the skill set has definitely shifted a lot. And for me personally, if I were hiring people, I'm still looking at foundational understanding of data concepts, which not a lot of people have, because it's easy to bypass all that and get to the cool stuff.
Yes.
But without really understanding how any of it works under the hood.
And talk about what those are, because a lot of people ask when they're getting started, they always want to know, how do we get started? And I always think SQL and Excel are basics, and maybe Python these days, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not going away right now. It's still the bread and butter. But even more foundationally, I really look for data modeling. That is a skill that I find has just disappeared.
Yep.
And people who have it, because they really understand how data works and how it needs to be structured. And kind of everything else can be bolted on, right? SQL is kind of just you can figure out the relational algebra, you can figure out the syntax for SQL, and you can apply it to these good foundational understanding of data modeling, some of the set theory, like some of that algebra that makes data work. All of that, everything else kind of builds on it, is kind of foundational to that. And another skill set I don't see a lot of is data management. So people who really understand things like data quality and how to solve data quality problems. I still think those are like surprisingly rare.
Yeah. I'm seeing that too a lot now with AI.
Right.
Companies are being forced to look at their data governance, their data structure, because you can't do good modeling if you don't have good data, clean data.
Yes, that's
good structure, right?
Yeah,
so
and it's not
that's
cool.
becoming kind of a cool thing again now, where it
Now
wasn't
it is.
before. It's
Yes.
becoming cool because of AI. That's what I'm seeing.
I've
I used
been
to
doing
say,
data
that's so
governance for
boring.
years, and I'm now like, see, it is cool.
It is
because
cool.
People are realizing now. And I actually think that some of the foundational data governance activities that used to be kind of just a time sink and they're not cool, and so they kind of become this cost center that it's difficult to realize maybe the value. I think AI, there's sort of this like cyclical thing where AI is like generating the need for that, and it's easing the activities to make that happen. So there's this cyclical thing where AI is both making that easier and making it more valuable. So I do think data governance and data management
Yeah.
is in a real renaissance right now.
I do too. I see that.
Yeah. So I get very jazzed on that.
The other thing that I'm seeing combined with data is that cybersecurity and data privacy
Yes. Yeah.
and all this bias. You know,
Yeah.
they're just so, and everybody's using AI too to help find, or the hackers to hack and the defenders to defend
Right.
at machine speed. So I'm finding that
Yeah.
really being, correlated a lot more now.
I wish I knew more about cyber. I wish I had spent more time with cybersecurity in my past, because now I'm like, this is so important. And,
Yes.
I understand data privacy. In fact, when GDPR was dropping, I spent a lot of time really wrapping my head around it. And GDPR kind of led the way for many of these changes that a lot of organizations are really trying to adopt now, because we realize how valuable that is, and all the data that exists about us out there is kind of terrifying when you really stop and think about it. I mean, as a technologist, as a data guy, even I'm a little like, boy, there's a lot of information that companies have on people, and I don't love.
Yep.
And I am a big supporter of anything data privacy, and we need it. And I do think we're slow to adopt. I
Right.
mean, I think companies can do some weird stuff with data right now. And I'll share some stories from we're off camera, because they're scary.
I know.
You know?
It is scary. Yeah. Another skill set, and I love that. The other thing that I'm seeing now because of AI, because when you put all this stuff in, it spits it out. You still have a human that needs to look at this to make sure it's accurate, right?
Absolutely.
So you have to have domain experts.
Yes, you
So even more so now, it used to be that if you were a fintech person and you knew, you could more easily move over to say healthcare or a different industry. I think now what I'm seeing from my clients at least, and maybe you can tell me if this is what you're seeing, is that you really need to know that data more so now than ever, because when it spits stuff out, if you don't understand what it's supposed to be, you're not going to understand if it's right or wrong before
right.
you utilize it.
And often there's a little bit of a black box
Yeah.
in how it got here. And so, the industry is working towards solving that. Things like RAG, which are these architectures that try to kind of show how did we come up with this decision. There's still a little bit of a black box, and I totally agree that domain expertise is not replaceable by AI.
Yeah.
And I also think, and this is like a little bit of a soapbox thing for me, I think the ability to tell good stories.
Yes, that's what I was just going to say. That is,
Yes.
you have to be
Right.
able to
Right.
communicate
Right.
to the business how it's going to help the business move the business
right.
forward.
That's
You
right.
can't just sit in the corner anymore with
Right.
your headsets on and do these models and not
Yes.
talk to anyone. And so,
Agreed. Totally agreed. I think every data professional out there right now, every AI professional would do themselves a huge favor by learning and understanding narrative structure. And this is something I talk about a lot. I literally was talking about it with my boss yesterday. We were geeking out about it, because understanding how to tell a good story around data is how humans learn and communicate, and it's how we build trust. We build trust through stories. So it's really important, and that's such a human skill. I heard at a recent conference, they said, don't use soft skills. That makes it sound less important. These are human skills. You have your technical skills and your human skills. And it's so important that is a gap. And that's a huge gap, I think, with a lot of technologists.
yep,
So, yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad.
All right.
Good conversation.
We did it. We just solved
You
it.
just educated me. See, I'm going to be that much better the next time I do a search
glad.
for a data person.
There you go. Awesome. Happy to help. Let's move on to the next question, which
Yeah.
I want to talk about Richmond.
Yeah.
I know you do work nationally, but you are very involved with what's going on here in Richmond. And as a Richmonder, I obviously love this. We are getting a lot of accolades nationally here. And we are
Finally.
recognized. I know, right? CNN had us as like #1
Yes.
for
Business.
travel destinations. And
Yes.
and AI, we're on the map. It's really cool, and I know that is actually because of the efforts of folks like you. And you've been very involved for as long as I can remember with RVA Tech. You've been at the forefront. Tell me about how you got involved in that, and maybe sort of what you're doing now.
Well, the reason I got involved was when I started in the tech industry, I knew nothing about it. And my boss said, you need to go to RVA Tech. So I started doing that, and that helped educate me and network and connect. And then I started getting more involved on committees. And through that, I just started to form some great relationships and became very passionate about moving our city forward. I'm from Richmond. Got my MBA in my late 30s at VCU.
Right.
And
VCU grad here as well.
all right, go Rams.
Rams.
And so I don't know. I just, as you get involved, I don't know, you get around people,
Right.
the community, you find out stuff that you didn't know before, and you're like, wow, I want to be part of this. I don't know. That's kind of how I got involved, right? And over the years, being on the board of RVA Tech, starting the Data Summit,
Favorite event of every year.
it's a great event.
I'm on the committee
I know
now.
you are. That's how I
So
met you.
excited. Yes.
I met you because of the Data Summit, because you had
Right.
applied to speak.
Yeah.
And through that way,
right.
that's when I first met
right.
you. And then I would see you out. And then as I've done programming for data, I've reached out to you because you're also very involved in the data enthusiast group. You
Right.
host all these, meetup groups.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Stephen, I need you to help me bring some people in the room.
Yeah.
And you did it, and you
happy
filled
to
a
do it.
room. And, so this is how these connections, I just
right.
really believe in community. And the more you get involved and you see how it works, the
Right.
more exciting you get. So I guess with Richmond, that's kind of how it started. And something that appeared to me a few years ago, we started working on a new brand for Richmond, because Richmonders don't really brag about themselves. There
Right.
wasn't a lot of good information out there. If you were a technologist trying to move here, I think it really hit me when I tried to hire a head of data science for this fintech company. He had accepted, he was a great candidate. And he came down here, when he brought his wife, he couldn't find information. You'd look it up. It looked like murder capital. We're the capital of the Confederacy.
Right.
I couldn't find any
Not great
tech scene if you
accolades.
lost
Not
your
great
job, right?
accolades.
Like here he is at a startup,
Yeah.
a high-risk environment. What if you
Sure.
lose your job? What are the other opportunities?
Right.
There was nothing. I'd have to give him a million websites, and So I got frustrated saying, there's no single resource. If you're a technologist or somebody looking to move here, or anybody that wants to know what's going on in the tech scene, where do you go?
Right.
Just send them to 10, 12, piece together this stuff. And I did this all the time as a recruiter.
It's a real patchwork.
It's a patchwork.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating, time consuming for me, not very efficient or effective. So I decided, I brought it up to RVA Tech. They were very open to it, saying, let's elevate Richmond as a tech town. Let's start some town hall meetings. I guess our goal was to elevate and consolidate, be a single resource where you could find everything in the tech scene. And so we've done this the last couple of years, working with people outside of tech, all inside of tech at all levels. We found we're doing amazing things in Richmond. It's just pocketed. It's in silos, and nobody knows what the other person's doing unless you're right in that silo doing it.
When you really dig, it's amazing to see the things
Yes.
that are happening in Richmond. And you're like, whoa, we did
Right.
that? That's so cool.
I had no idea. We have a transatlantic cable that I didn't know ran underneath the ocean to Europe that can,
I
right
didn't know that.
here.
That's amazing.
Which is why we have all these data centers. It makes us a perfect place for a lot of international companies. There's so many things going on. So everybody was excited about us. We hired somebody to help us move this forward. Now we have this new brand platform, Richmond, Tech's Most Creative City,
Tech's Most Creative
that
City.
I'm
I love
working
that.
with right now. We're in the 4th week of a 6-week project with Accenture to help put these wireframes together. Then we're going to go out, we're going to celebrate this and look for all these stories. We're going to start telling really great stories about what's going on. And one single resource, whether you're an educator, an economic development person, a recruiter, a technologist living here or outside, a college student, you have a single place to go to say, wow, this is one place. We know everything about it.
I love that. And, I think you touched on two things. One was Richmond has come so far. When I
Yes.
first moved here, it had that stigma, because I do think for a while we had like the highest murder rate per capita.
It was awful.
Way back when. We have come a long way. And it makes you really proud to be a Richmonder, because Richmond is awesome. I love this place. It's my favorite place on earth. And it's small enough to where you can have a real impact. You can get involved with the community and get to know everybody involved. And we're not like New York, where that's probably impossible. We're just small enough to where everyone can get involved, and it's awesome.
And we're a very welcoming community, and I think that's been something, we've learned.
Right.
We're collaborative, we support each other. That's part of our vibe. So it's made it really easy.
Right.
And through this, we came up, I don't know if you saw that we applied for a tech hub.
I did. I saw that.
Back last fall to be an AI tech hub. We didn't get it,
Yeah.
but the process itself was learning. And we got people involved outside of just the technical community.
Right.
Policymakers, people from economic development, people from the educators. It was awesome to bring this together, to get people excited. And I think the more we do that, we're going to find more opportunities. That's why now we're telling these stories. Economic development, tourism, all of us are doing the same things, and we're talking to each other.
Right.
And it's just, you can see the difference.
I know. Honestly, that is a big part.
And that, I just get so excited about it.
Me too. Why I wanted to start this show was initially to highlight people in RVA tech and also highlight my favorite places around town.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
I think this is great too, right? Because we have that work element where we need to know what's going on in the tech community, but we also have the social element. When we leave, where are we going to go hang? What are we going to do and have fun? And this is one of the places. And the breweries and all the other things you're highlighting.
We do have a lot of breweries.
We sure do.
I think for a while we were #1 per capita in breweries, which is a much better statistic than #1 per capita in murders. much better. We've really improved.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. This has been fun. Let's roll into our final question. And this is one I ask everybody, all my guests. And that is, what advice would you have for someone who's either early in their tech career or maybe making a shift? Mid-career, they're like, I want to get into tech. I'm going to make a shift. What advice might you have for someone?
Well, I haven't done early career in a while, but I do mentor some students at VCU and things. So I am working with a lot of the students. And basically, I tell them to get out in the community and talk to people. If you're early on, you want to talk to as many people as you can and ask them for advice. Ask them about the different opportunities and ask them what you should be doing. What are they, what's important to them?
Yeah.
And then always be constantly learning. Whether that be a certification or maybe it's just going to a meetup group or maybe it's organizing stuff. You want to go out there and find your people. You want to network and you want to have fun too. I did that early on and it's benefited me through, women in tech. Now I have this 10-person tribe, but that's over 20 years.
Right.
So I say just start those foundational things and then don't be afraid to get out and go to conferences, speak when you can. Be brave. I remember when I was young, I had no fear because I didn't know about failure. And then you fail and you're like, oh, I don't want to try that again.
But
you learn. So I would just say keep trying new things, keep learning always because tech is so large, it's going to change. You're always going to have to do that.
Right.
So that's one thing for people.
Changes,
tech changes.
But the relationships kind of don't.
They don't.
And even relationships you make early in your career, it's amazing how they will, especially in a place like Richmond.
Yes.
They'll follow you.
They do.
Those same people that you worked with 20 years ago still pop up, and they're people I go to for advice or to go catch up. And I agree with you completely.
I think that, and I work on my community and my network all the time. I reach out to people to help me, Right. And then getting a brand. I think that's important, and we see that, and you get that through speaking engagements or going online, social media presence, doing things like what you're doing. You have a brand. You have a data pour. You do this. You're known. Just commenting on LinkedIn or posting articles or attending and speaking at conferences. Those are things that I think stand out. And when you don't have the right skills necessarily, people look at you and go, wow, I'll take a risk on that person.
Right.
That really does stand out. Right.
Yeah.
So I think those are things I would say. And for people, career change, because I was a career change. I came from selling carpet to selling tech. I knew nothing.
Yeah.
So, I studied, I learned, I talked to as many people, I asked engineers to whiteboard stuff for me. I got in data centers, I looked at the blinky lights, I did it all.
Yeah.
You just have to be curious and you have to keep re-educating yourself. Maybe you go to a boot camp. Maybe you do something like Max Potential, which has, apprenticeship programs that'll help get you exposure and hands-on because you can go get education, but without experience, sometimes people won't hire you. So how do you get experience?
Right.
Sometimes you have to volunteer. Sometimes you have to go work in an internship. Sometimes, and this is what I recommend people that are trying to change careers, don't be scared to take a step backwards, to take a step forward. People get so hung up on title and money.
Sure. That's a good point.
That they can't. And had I done that, I was a national account manager and I took an inside sales job. A lot less money.
Yeah,
a lot less. I'm cold calling for people, and doing all this, the grunt work to get in. But then I was in 4 months, promoted to outside. Yes, and I did all this stuff. And then within 2 years, I've quadrupled my money. I've changed my whole thing, and it didn't take that long. But I had to be willing to take a step back forward and get past my ego and the money thing sometimes. But I tell people, just do that. And don't be scared to go laterally sometimes because you need broader experience sometimes to move up. You can't just be great in data or great in software engineering or whatever it may be. You need to understand the big picture, and you need to do that by moving around and
That is great advice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I think we should probably wrap up here.
Okay, I
This
could
has
talk
been
for a
so
while
much
though,
fun.
but now this is
Cool.
fun.
Let's just go. We can go for like 2-3
No,
hours. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for joining me today,
Yes.
Lori. This has
Thank
been
you for
awesome.
having me.
Of course, happy to. Once again, thank you to Catherine and the Verdant Lady. Until next time, let's toast to knowledge and connection, one episode at a time.